Hello, I'm David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and today we're talking about what you need to know about emergency family communications. Today's question or comment comes from Eric William 952 about an hour ago, and he says, in reference to my 3 Angels Create Family Emergency Radio Net, and that was a GMRS radio net. They did 17 miles with these handheld radios and an external antenna. So his comment was, you need a 50-watt mobile radio at home with a base station antenna and your own DC off-grid power system. Those handheld are good for around the yard or car-to-car traveling. And he's got a good point there. So, do I use this combination that we have here? And thank you, Eric, for bringing that to our attention. Do I use this for our home communications for my wife and me? The answer is no. Can you? The answer is absolutely yes. Do you need this for emergency communications? The answer is it depends. So I would highly encourage you, and I'll put a link down below this video, to watch that video where a mother and 2 daughters set up a home-based emergency communications network without a 50-watt base unit. They do have either battery backup at the house, like Eric mentioned, because you need a power supply to charge batteries or to run radios. They either have a generator or they have battery backup. And of course I use and own the Mango power stations, and I'll have a video down reviewing that below. So in that video we showed that with this particular radio, not others, and this is a very affordable radio. You could buy a radio like this for $350. That'll do the just same thing or even less. But this Woosan KG935G or G+, with this external GMRS antenna, went 17 miles crystal clear from the mother's house to the daughter's house. And you'll see that in the video. There's actually a triangle because they have 3 different locations. So can you use this for emergency family communications? Absolutely yes. And why would you use this instead of an amateur radio? Well, the reason why they chose is because you do not need to take an amateur radio test, written test, to get a GMRS license. So these are 5-watt radios, so you should have a license to operate these. Otherwise, you just get like the little bubble wrap family walkie-talkies, which are less than 2 watts, which you don't need a radio, you don't need a license for at all. But you cannot remove those family wrap FRS radio antennas and put on an external antenna. And the external antenna, and you'll see this in the video, made all the difference. So even though this is, in my opinion, the best quality radio for the price, and you can spend a lot more money on other radios and not get the same quality, or get the same quality, but why spend 2 or 3 times as much and not get any better radio, in my opinion? So they were able to listen to amateur radio bands, police broadcasts, emergency, like ambulance, sheriffs, weather reports, weather alerts, and so forth. All that on this radio. It's an amazing radio, and it has 2 different, I just turned this on, and it has 2 different, where you could be monitoring 2 different channels at the same time. So great combination. I'll have links below this video about this radio and the setup they use. Please watch that video. But this isn't what my wife and I use. So let me show you what we use in our house. Now, this is the Woosan KG1000, and if you're going to get a base GMRS antenna radio, this is the radio to get. Again, it's high quality, great radio, and I have to thank the guys over at buy2wayradios.com. The links I had down below this video will take you there, and I get credit for this purchase, and you'll be buying from a company that gives you support. So I bought all this equipment I'm showing you out of my own money. They did not send me any of this equipment. I purchased it from my own pocket. But as far as getting equipment, and especially radios, it can be very confusing. The guys at Two-Way Radio are awesome. They will answer your questions until you understand what's going on. So you can buy this stuff anywhere or several locations, but if you want great customer support, then I would get this from Buy Two-Way Radios and support this channel and them. Great company. So if you're looking for a base station for GMRS, again, this is a great one from Woosan, and it also has dual band, so you can listen to 2 different channels at the same time. So if you have one for your family and one for your neighborhood, you can be monitoring that, or one for the police station, or one for whatever. You can be monitoring that all here. So this is not what my wife and I use, because this does have a limit on distance, and we don't want to depend on repeaters. Another drawback is that every kid in the neighborhood has a little walkie-talkie, and it uses the same channels as this, so it can be a little bit irritating unless you're using sub-channels, and which is discussed in other videos. So great solution, really, really good solution if you're not wanting to take a amateur radio license test. Now, you can say, well, in an emergency, I don't need to have a license for any radio, and that's absolutely true. But if you're not going to, and this is very important, if you're not going to take the test and get a license for amateur radio, do not buy an amateur radio, because you will not know how to program it. You won't know which channels, frequencies to go to. You won't know when to go to. You won't have any relationships, because you cannot broadcast legally without a license. And so if you're broadcasting on amateur radio and you're not giving your call sign, mine is Kilo Echo 5 Sierra Tango Foxtrot, my wife also has hers, then the people are going to say, hey, you really need to get, and they're not going to be, most of them aren't going to be snotty about it, but you need to have that license in order to build that relationship. And what's coming, you're going to need to be prepared with food, water filtration, battery backup, security, communications for your family. But you cannot be an island. You need to be part of a prepared community. The people that I find that are the most prepared people are those on amateur radio, not GMRS radio. I love GMRS. I would definitely do that if your family isn't willing to get the amateur radio license. But let me show you what my wife and I use. The most important person in my life is my sweetheart of 42 years. And so for this Christmas, I bought her in my opinion, the best amateur radio, handheld radio available. And that, again, I really love the quality of the Woosan brand. So I bought her the Woosan KG UV9D, that's Delta Mate. So Kilo Golf Uniform Victor Niner Delta Mate. And again, I'll have links for this below this video. But this is a 10 watt, not 5 watt, handheld radio. I spent a lot of time and money buying and testing radios. Here's one of them here. This is a GMRS radio. This is also GMRS radio. This is the best, FRS radio. FRS uses the same channels as GMRS, but does not have a removable antenna, and it has to be less than 2 watts. So if you're looking for a family radio, this is the best quality one for sure. If you want to get up to GMRS, then I would get this one for sure. I'll have links below here. Here's another radio that I've tested, and here's 2 Baofeng radios. This one has an expansion battery pack, and real life experience, having lived off grid with no utilities for 14 days, having helped in emergencies after hurricanes when we're running around on islands and helping people get place mucked out. You're going to use up a battery really fast. I do recommend a high power battery. So this is a Baofeng, and this is also a Baofeng. So when are my wife and I going to use these radios? Well, or when would you use these a radio for emergency communications? In an emergency. So in an emergency, am I going to be able to trust an $18 radio to be able to communicate with my wife? No, I'm not going to do that. I had this radio with this battery. This is a 32 milliamp battery, which is a high capacity battery. I had this radio, standard antenna, just right out of the package, in the exact same place as somebody else using this radio. We were trying to get a hold of net control. He could not hear net control with this radio standing in the clear. We were probably 3 to 4 miles away as the crow flies, no obstructions in between. He could not hear him, and I could hear net control as clear as if he was standing next to me. We were both standing next to each other in the exact same place. I was hearing clear communications. He was hearing nothing. In an emergency, when I absolutely have to communicate with my wife, I am not going to trust our communications and our safety on an $18 radio. Not going to happen. Good beginner radio to learn and get some techniques? Yes, I'll have a link down below. There's actually Chinese knockoffs of this Chinese radio. So don't get the knockoffs because they're really bad. And don't get the 8-watt radio. They don't transmit at 8 watts. This is does transmit close to 10 watts. 9.7 I think it was when I tested it. And it does UHF, VHF. So I'm trusting our family communications with this radio. So nice radios to play around with and maybe to learn a little bit, but nothing that I'm going to rely on. So what did I get my wife for Christmas? I got her the anniversary pack because I think this is what it's called. It actually doesn't say on here, but I think this is the anniversary pack. I got that because it was less expensive than me buying all the pieces that I wanted to get. So the battery that comes with a standard Baofeng radio is 1800 milliamps. That has never lasted me a day when I was actually transmitting and receiving all day in events that I've been at. This radio battery here is 3200 milliamps, so almost twice the capacity of the standard battery that comes with the Baofeng. This extended battery here from the Baofeng is 3800 milliamps, and this has lasted me an entire day. So when I go out and I'm doing security or safety for different events, I'm taking an expansion battery or a couple of these to make sure that I'm good. And I also have a backup radio. So the battery is very important. And this comes with a 32 milliamp battery and a second 32 milliamp battery. That's why I really like it. It comes with the belt clips that go on the batteries. I really like it when the belt clip goes on the battery. It's a much better situation, I think, than having it on the unit. And then in this kit has a user manual, good user manual, programming cable, because you will need to program this. If you buy the units by themselves, you'll need to get a programming cable separate. I don't want to get down into the weeds, but it has everything that I would need to have. It has a clip-on microphone and speaker. It has a battery, a connection that you can plug into your cigarette lighter in your vehicle, so you're not using your battery. So this would just pop out. This goes in its place. And now while we're traveling, I'm not using up my battery. I'm actually running off the car battery. So that's a great something to have. It also has my favorite mic and ear setup, which this one is kind of like the Secret Service used. But I really like this setup because it goes in my ear, so I can be listening on a private conversation so others around me don't hear, but I can actually hear in a noisy location. And then it has a built-in mic here with a toggle switch. So I really like this setup. Here's another cigarette lighter and connection, and that's for the battery charger. So you could actually be charging your battery while you're driving your car. And then there's some other, this is a wall charger. And then it also comes with an adapter. Now, what would you use this adapter for? You would use that adapter for an external antenna. So my wife has a complete radio that is UHF, VHF, amateur radio, high quality, high wattage, but we need, and it has a great antenna, but even to get better, I bought this tram antenna. Again, I'll have a link down below. to this antenna, and this is a mag mount antenna. I don't permanently mount my antennas on my vehicles because I think that's kind of advertising, hey, come steal something from my vehicle. But this is a magnetic mount antenna, and this will do all the 4 frequencies that this radio will do, the 4 bands, I'm sorry. And it has a little card in here telling you what the different frequencies are that it will cover. So this is what we have set up for cars. So if she's in the car going one way and I'm in the truck going another way, and we're helping people, or we're just getting out of Dodge and we're taking both vehicles, then we're covered. Minimum, what I would recommend, minimum for family would be this Woosan KG UV9D Mate and this specific Tram Model 1100 antenna. That will get you mobile and will work great. Not so much at home. You can get, and I would recommend you get an external antenna like one that's for UHF and VHF, like the 3 Angels did in that video. And that will make all the difference in the world, having this connected to an external antenna outside of your house. If that is the case, then you're now using, with an external antenna like this and the gain, you can actually be boosting this power, the signal, substantially 2-3 times greater than from the antenna that comes here. This particular antenna for the mag mount, I don't think has any gain on it. So, but you're looking at 10 watts here versus 5 watts on the GMRS. So let me get cleaned up and I'll talk to you about a base station and why I would recommend a base station like Eric mentioned and why I think that's important. Okay, before I talk about the base station here for amateur radio, I did mention that I got my wife this Woosan KG UV9D Mate in the anniversary kit for Christmas. So now both of us have the same radio. I won't go into the specs, I don't want to get geeked out here. I'm just going to tell you, if you want a reliable, affordable UHF, VHF amateur radio, handheld, this is the one to get. You're going to save yourself a lot of money and have some amazing features on here. So this is the set that we have. So she has her set with her mobile antenna. I have my set with my mobile antenna. Now, I think a great pairing of this is with the Woosan 50 watt KG UV980P, and it looks just like the GMRS radio externally. But this is GMRS and this is the UHF VHF radio. What is so important about this, and I use this all the time here around my property, is that this will do dual band repeat. That means I can have this hooked up, and I can't show you my antenna outside unless I find a picture, but I got an external antenna that does UHF and VHF. This is plugged into that antenna outside of my roof. It's a 14 high tram antenna. I'll have a link down below for that antenna. But now this radio, because of crossband repeat, can connect to this radio, and now I can go 50 miles or more easily with that roof mount antenna and this 50 watt radio. So I use that all around the property. So I'll have this radio on my hip, and I'm working in the shop or around the property, driving the ATV, and I'm using this antenna is seeing the antenna on top of my house, so I can use this radio, and if I'm within 5 miles or so of this radio, then this radio will be able to send and receive up to 50 miles away. Whereas this will do well with the external antenna for about 15 to maybe 18 miles. So dramatically greater distance on here using the dual band repeat, because even though this is 50 watts, I can only go as far away from this radio as the cord, okay? Because I have to be attached to this radio. Well, when I have this radio connected via antenna to this one, then I can be all over the property and actually all over the city that I live in and still have 50-mile distance not using repeaters. So this is our core system. 2 of these radios, one for my wife, one for me. This is our base station with our external antenna. And we can be out on the property, out in the town, and still be able to communicate. Even though this radio may not be able to reach the radio that I have, if this radio can reach this antenna here, then this will reach that antenna. So I don't want to get into the weeds, but it is the best solution for emergency communications. And this has dual band. That means I can be monitoring my wife and also the emergency response communications from my ward or stake or neighborhood or whatever it is on the same radio. So my wife, I want to be out helping people, and I do that, but I want to still be in touch with my wife. And if the cell phones are down and we need to be in communications, anything could be happening, right? Somebody could be coming up to the house with ill intent, and if I don't have communications with my wife, then there's no way that I can help her. Or she may need help with something, or if somebody comes up to the house and needing help, then we can communicate. So having this as the base station, having a battery backup, which is the Mango power station, it's the perfect combination. So this is our go-to setup. It's mobile with the mobile antenna, like I showed you earlier. Okay? I'll talk about that in a second. Mobile antenna, so we're good to go mobile. I can also put this is a mobile base station. I can put this in my car with that same antenna, and now I'm using 50 watts instead of 10 watts, so I'm even getting greater distance. Or I can use this as a base station with an external antenna on our house and use this basically as a private repeater. It's not what it is, so don't correct me in the comments. I'm just trying to simplify this. So this will actually take the signal and move it off to my other radios that's tuned into that frequency. So if this is what you need to know, is to have emergency communications for your vehicles when you're mobile, for your home, and be able to move around your property and not tied to this radio, but to have the power of this radio by using dual band repeat and a radio like this. I apologize if this is confusing, and this is why you need to get the equipment that you want to use and get into a community of prepared people, because they will help simplify and help you get this set up and teach you how to use this. All this needs to be programmed. You're not going to do that by yourself, probably. One of the great things about the amateur radio community is that it is a community, and people want to help each other. So in a real emergency, these are the people who are communicating. People who are just waiting on email and texts and cell phones are not communicating. I know from personal experience, and they're in total chaos. Unfortunately, that's the situation. When you have communications, you know what's going on, and you've got other people you're connected with a radio that doesn't depend on anybody else providing you cell phone tower communications or texting. You have a large community that can say, this is what's going on over here, we need help over here. You can say, I need help here, and you've got the right people. You're talking to the right people. Be prepared and be part of a prepared community. This is, in my opinion, what you will need, is what we're depending on when things get really bad in the next coming years. Get yourself a reliable UHF, VHF radio. Get your license so you start practicing and using this, and so you can join a community, be part of that community. So when the stuff hits the fan, you're already set up to go mobile. You're set up to be a base station. You're set up this to be mobile. You can communicate with your family, with the other prepared radio operators with amateur radio, because you've already built those relationships and you're talking on the radios on a weekly or daily basis. All the links to this equipment will be below this video. The links to the other videos I talked about where the GMRS worked great will be below this video. If you have questions, please just give me a call. My phone number is at my website, ldsprepperstore.com. I'm glad to help out individuals, families, communities, churches with emergency communications that is reliable, field tested, so that you're not the guy with this radio and not hearing what's going on. You're the guy or gal with this radio and you're in communications. This base station and also this base station needs to have a power supply. These are direct current or DC radios, as are these, because they run off batteries. So if you're going to have this in the house, you're going to need to be able to convert AC power to DC power. That's what this is. This is the Woosan Papa Sierra Bravo 1000. I got this at Buy2A Radios also. It comes with all the cables, instructions, so forth. This radio here will slide right in here and connect. And so I will be able to plug this right into the wall outlet in my office. And when I go mobile, I can just take this whole thing here with me and be mobile. Now this is a linear power supply, not a switching power supply, so it's heavy, but it's a high quality power supply. Everything I've experienced from Woosan has been high quality. I want to buy once, cry once, get it done right the first time, because lives may be dependent on our ability to communicate. So if you're going to get a power supply for the house, which you'll need with this radio, I would highly recommend this unit right here. I'll have links below for this power supply below this video. Now that you have communications, I also would recommend that you get this from Buy2A Radios. This is the 333 plan. Very important. It doesn't do any good to have a tool if you don't know how to use the tool or have a plan to use the tool. This sheet right here is well worth the couple bucks it is. It's laminated. It's going to last forever. And it will help you provide a plan for your family in how to communicate, when to communicate, what channels, how often, so you're not wearing down the battery all the time. It's a really good plan. Take a look at the 333 radio plan from Buy2ARadios.com. They did not sponsor this video. I bought all this equipment for my own money, but if I were to buy it again, I would buy it from Buy2A Radios just because of the excellent customer service that they have provided over the years to me. So support this channel, use the links below. If you feel this information is helpful, please like, subscribe, and click that bell button so it's black so you get updates, and share this with your friends and loved ones, community and church members, so they can be prepared and you can build a prepared community. This is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper. If you are prepared with proper quality communications in time of emergency, you shall not fear what's coming.